Hello and welcome. While teenagers and children have largely been spared the ravages of COVID-19, they haven't been unaffected. The pandemic has exposed many children to trauma far ahead of their time. School closures, cancelled school farewell parties, separation from friends, no birthday parties for the little ones. For us adults, it's a small price to pay to save the lives of thousands. But for children, it's life as they knew it. The best years of their lives suddenly thrown into chaos. Many have struggled academically with the changes and are having difficulty catching up. Some lost their momentum and motivation to do well in school. Still others are recovering from grief associated with the death of a parent, a friend or a loved one due to COVID-19. Some struggle with the guilt of passing COVID on to their live-in grandparents. Today on Children's Day, we're putting the focus on children. As we enter the COVID-19 recovery phase, let's talk about the role of various stakeholders in educational systems, namely teachers, principals, parents, policy planners. The role we have, the media, in helping children adjust to a new normal. Joining us now, first and foremost, is our Kabir and Sumer Sharma. They're students, 12-year-old twins who study at Vasant Valley School in the national capital. Thanks for joining us tonight. I know I won't say it's a school night because I know schools have been cancelled, but really I want to ask you, with COVID-19 infection rates constantly fluctuating, schools and governments, they've debated, they've hesitated, they've grappled with the decision to reopen schools for in-person learning. So Sumer, first to you, finally after 19 months, schools were to open in Delhi. You were going to be back at your desks. Now again, schools are closed over pollution. Do you feel like a yo-yo?
Yes, and thank you for having us. I really do agree that our life has really been going, to and fro. And about the whole situation, I really feel that we were really excited, first of all, to really go to school. But then suddenly, because of the pollution wave that hit Delhi, we now have to stay at home and work online. But I'm really just disappointed. It's very sad that some people have to burn crackers and the stubble burning is happening currently, and we have to suffer during this time period. But yeah, I'm still keeping up my hopes up that in the coming weeks we can attend school.
And Kabir, what about you? What was it like to think that you were going to go back to school finally, and then sometimes there's school, sometimes it's online, sometimes it's pollution that's shutting schools? How do you feel about this?
I was super pumped to go back to school. The opportunity to come back to school after 19 months, I wanted to grab it with both my hands. And I have to say, I had a brilliant time in school for the short period, how much ever we stayed. And, it just reminded me what school is actually all about, socializing with the teachers, friends, and, the interactive atmosphere in the classroom, back chat with friends during the class. And I'm extremely disappointed because this isn't just affecting my schooling, it's affecting my sports too, because, I'm a cricket person and I've not been able to practice for the past 19 months properly. So yeah, I'm quite sad about the situation.
Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, I know for kids, of course, being locked in, the lockdown was extremely frustrating, but I can imagine for an athlete, someone even more so. Can you talk a little bit about how did you cope? Were you dejected? Did you miss out on training?
No, you see, the thing is that I'm trying to keep fit. I'm trying to play some tennis ball cricket, and trying to be ready for the situation whenever I can play cricket again. Trying to become fit and get ready for that time.
Okay, wow. A lot of resilience both of you have shown. Really, there's a lot for all of us to learn from you both. Thank you so much for joining us on We the People tonight. Well, I want to go across to Latika Gupta. She's a professor of education at Delhi University who's worked on a report on stressed out children during the pandemic-led lockdown. Latika Gupta, you conducted a research study in low-income urban communities in Mumbai and Thane. Giving us a different picture from the students we just spoke with from Delhi. And your study was aimed at understanding the cognitive and socio-emotional challenges faced by children during the COVID-19 lockdown. What were the insights or the findings of the study or the learning for you? Latika, I think you need to unmute. Latika, we can't hear you. Can we just double check? Okay, let's disconnect with Latika and come back to her. We have Dr. Pooja Shivam Jetli. She's a clinical psychologist. Dr. Pooja Shivam Jetli, to you, during this pandemic, the physical health needs of the most vulnerable often took priority, rightly so, over the mental health needs of others, right? But now we're 2 years on, and do we need to be concerned about the long-term mental effects on youth, teens and children?
रूप उन्होंने एक भारत का दिया जिसमें कि
Sorry.
If I were to put it, then I think the pandemic is more mental than physical. While we are at risk with the virus, I think the mental health of people across all ages is deeply impacted, and it will have a far-reaching impact. First affected are children whose growth and development depends on certain experiences which they are denied because of social isolation. Very young children who probably need to learn social skills, who depend on peer and social interaction, are locked up. The concept of school for them is just a screen. They don't have a routine of getting up, getting ready. They are denied of certain experiences. In your introduction, you very rightly put it that, children are being denied their experience of the school ending, the farewell parties. Children are denied of the first day at school, the first bag that they would buy, the bottle they would carry, and so on and so forth. More than that, I think a lot of children who probably are born and during this time, for them, the world exists with masks. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of children who probably take consultation, for various behavior reasons. Their parents say that they probably are able to say one of the few words as mask or are able to identify a sanitizer bottle. Adolescents are suffering because probably their need to form an identity is hugely compromised because they're not getting any peer interaction. And that is one very important source through which they shape their worldview, they shape how they think about themselves and who they are. So I think it's like the virus does pose a huge physical, threat to us. I think the mental threat or the threat to the mental health is far-reaching, and I think.
And the grief, the anxiety, the depression that children have experienced during
Absolutely.
the pandemic, are we seeing that? Are we seeing that welling over into classrooms whenever they reopen? But are we seeing more disruptive behavior in many younger kids, or are you seeing that in your patients or parents who are coming to you?
Absolutely. I think the most commonly expressed is lack of routine, disturbances in moods, sleep. Sleep is hugely impacted. So are the eating habits. Too much of screen time leading to certain behavior changes. Children playing too many games, too much of screen time leading to certain obsessive behaviors. Restriction in terms of meeting other people. Seeing so much of unpredictability around has increased the anxiety. Children who probably, and even the underlying mental health concerns which probably existed in certain children and adolescents is probably being expressed or is coming out in a different manner, and it's becoming very challenging. Even for clinicians like us, assessment of children for various behavior, emotional and learning concerns is becoming a challenge because we don't know if it's the effect of this 2 year of, being socially isolated, or is it something which has existed in them. So yes, a whole lot of, they are challenges of various forms, and mood, behavior, sleep, appetite, eating disorders, all of these are very, very significantly reported.
Well, hold that thought, doctor. For mental stress, do we have Latika back on? Okay, so I just want to bring in Latika, but before that, I was just thinking that, for mental stress, to a loss of a loved one, we as a nation, we grieved collectively. But not everyone has had the luxury of monetary streams to support our families. I want to go across to Sonika Chhabra. She's the director of the RU Foundation. It's a foundation through which she teaches children from economically weaker stratas spoken English and teaches them the ways to live in society with confidence. Sonika, thank you, of course, so much for everything that you've been doing with these kids. But what have you noticed about these children specifically when it comes to stress and anxiety? These children, I'm sure, have seen and experienced hardships, possibly parents losing jobs, and that's also likely to affect them, including their self-esteem. What have you experienced over the last few months of working with them?
These kids have gone through a lot of misery. When I started to teach them, there were few. They were so underconfident and they have seen such tough times. The parents lost their jobs. The parents could not give them 2 square meals. So they were confined to the small cubicles. And then there was a stress. Then online classes started. They did not have their tabs with them. And they did not have anything to eat. And the children and the girls were forced to drop the schools. So many girls took up small domestic jobs, and it was miserable. They lost their esteem. They stopped. They could not study. They cannot retain. They could not memorize. They've stopped. They have forgotten whole process of learning. So it's been very, very tough. Very, very tough. And I try to boost them. I try to teach them, but these kids have gone through hell and they've seen so much of suffering. They've lost their near and dear ones. Either both the parents have died or one of them. So these kids have gone through so much of trauma that I can't explain it to you. So I feel small things which we can do for them and society can do for them. It's great.
Sonika, I was smiling when you were saying all of this, but really it was because I was looking at those videos of those kids. They seem so happy. So what happens now if MCD schools reopen? Will they continue with the program?
They were so happy that the schools are opening. They said, Didi, our schools are opening. Ab hum kab padhenge? I said, beta, jaise aap bologe, if you tell me that I'll come at 4 o'clock to teach you. I'll come at 3 o'clock to teach you. But again, today, when I went to celebrate Children's Day with them today, they said, दीदी स्कूल फिर बंद हो गए. I said कोई बात नहीं, हम मस्ती करेंगे, मजा करेंगे. We'll learn, we'll have fun while learning. So it's been a very tough journey for these kids. And just a request for all the people, my friends and people who are watching this, please come forward and share your love and goodies with my kids. They've gone through hell. So I request all Delhi people to come forward and help my kids.
Do what little you can if you have more than you need right now. Thanks so much, Sonika. I have Latika back on. Latika, I was just asking you before we had those tech issues, what the findings of your study were.
See, we were wondering that government used television as a source to push people to stay at home. And then there was this market agency, Nielsen, which found out that there was a 300% rise in viewership during the midday. Oh. So anybody could understand that children were watching a lot of television. And what were they doing? Other government's own data and sources are already revealing that online education is a luxury. Not more than 20-30% of India have access to it. So what were children really doing? That curiosity took us to the study, and we found that it was a very stressed out childhood in the sense that there was violence at home. And what children were largely doing in the name of watching TV, but they were watching violence on TV. They reported that they had started to like crime shows, horror movies. So there was violence on screen. There was violence at home. UN for Women had already declared a shadow pandemic that women in homes were experiencing heightened violence. What else was happening? There was food hardship. There was fear. Children were scared because there was parental unemployment. Their parents were stressed. They had to borrow money. They had to put their jewelry on loan. With financial hardship, with food, with hunger, and no opening inside that what is going to happen. Plus a lack of understanding. Like almost 50% children in our study told us they didn't understand what was virus. They didn't understand COVID-19 or Corona. Yes, they had a superficial understanding that we are at home so that everybody doesn't get the infection, we are safe. But what is it? So ignorance leading to fear. I mean, ignorance and fear getting combined up. They were scared that police will hit them. They were scared that they will die if they catch corona. And that's how we figured out that if you were watching crime, if you were experiencing, witnessing crime, and you were dealing with something that you don't understand, because who could have taught them? Who could have helped them understand? They were teachers. So the space of knowing, of understanding, the space of raising curiosities, inquiries, that space was completely closed. We kind of negated childhood while dealing with pandemic, and that's how we have to say what was usually nowadays known as prime time is crime time. We will have to say that pandemic time has been a crime time for a large number of children.
It's horrible that you say
I was
stress-free. It's a stressful childhood. I mean, and horrible the way you're describing it. It's a terrifying cocktail mixture of all of these aspects that these young children have to deal with at a time when they shouldn't have to be dealing with all of this. But I don't know if you heard what Sonika Chhabra was saying. And did you see that also? Like, she's talked specifically about how boys and girls were affected differently. Was there an internalization of expected gender roles or anything like that visible in your study?
Oh, yes. We found a massive gender difference in the experience of children. Like, girls reported household drudgery, much more than boys. We had asked them their routine during the pandemic when they were at home. And they mentioned household chores, they mentioned sibling care, they mentioned other activities. Boys were still going to some kind of tuition, girls were not going. So a complete snapping of learning spaces, of knowledge spaces, of intellectual stimulation, and almost like a regendering of girls into becoming a woman.
So all the advantages, in a sense, the steps forward that we had taken over the years, we seem to have gone back. We seem to have regressed. It's going to take years, maybe another decade now again to go back to that. Sonika, hold on. I want to bring in Sudha Acharya, because what do we do then, right? Like, what happens next? She's chairman of the National Progressive Schools Conferences and a member of the Delhi Board for Curriculum Reform, on the Curriculum Reform Committee. Sudha, being out of school for almost 2 academic years, children may have forgotten a lot about foundational knowledge. Are there pressures that schools have of trying to make up for lost time in the last year, and are schools struggling to make up for learning loss?
Of course, when school reopened 1st November for primary, for pre-primary to class 8, we could see that huge amount of learning impact. Even though we all are making best effort to breach that gap towards a sustainable or equitable, inclusive learning opportunity for all, but we could see that huge amount of learning loss. So this is a recovery period, we thought that. So immediately we did not go back to cognitive learning, of course, because there was so much socio-emotional learning to take care of. Because these children have gone through hell, as Professor Latika was speaking about, through grief, through loss of a loved one, domestic violence, parents losing love, job, and even both the parents going for work and leaving them alone at home. So exposing them to risk behavior, substance abuse, peer pressure, all these things we have seen. So when they came back to school, of course, senior students at the drop of hat, they wanted the stage to express their emotion. They wanted to celebrate each and every occasion. The young ones also, we took them for music, dance, and provided them opportunity to just come out what they felt like, how they want to express themselves. So to vent out, that is one opportunity we were providing, but we saw a huge amount of learning opportunity, because when student and teacher engagement takes place physically, reciprocal, then of course that is the most important predictor of success, because children, they coordinate, they consult, they communicate,
they connect. But of course we would rather keep our malls open than keep our schools open somehow.
Yes.
Schools are a very low priority for our administrators. I want to bring in Divya Kapoor Sardana. She's a parent from Punjab. Divya, I know your story. You're very stressed about sending your children back to school. You're nervous and you want to wait for a vaccine for kids, which I don't know when that will happen in India. But I want to ask you, have you thought about, have you also worried or stressed about whether your stress, gets manifested onto your kids, gets transferred to your kids?
Hi, good evening. Well, I have to say that the last 2 years have been very challenging for all of us as parents, as children. And, like they say, man proposes, God disposes. Who knew we'll be hit with this pandemic? But having said that, I think the fact that we've all as parents slowly and steadily got vaccinated in time, the fact that our kids are currently with us, it's a great sense of, satisfaction and strength to have your kids with you. So yes, the stress levels initially were very high, but in time they've sort of calmed down and, you have a sense of grip of the situation, whatever little that we know of the virus. So yes, I think things have become slightly better.
Okay. We have Aparajita Gautam joining us, who's the president. Let's get some audience reaction. Maybe Aparajita and Saurav Chatterjee can just give us a quick reaction. Aparajita, you're the president of the Delhi Parents Association, correct? Similarly, I'm sure parents have a lot of stress. Do you guys talk about how you think your stress, affects your kids or your kids pick up on it?
Thank you. देखिए, जो पेरेंट्स का जो फिलहाल जो स्ट्रेस चल रहा है आफ्टर रीओपनिंग दी स्कूल्स, यहाँ पे 2 टाइप का स्ट्रेस चल रहा है. नंबर 1, जो ऑनलाइन और ऑफलाइन का इशू. अगर मैं बात करूं, अभी तो ठीक है, दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट ने अनाउंस किया है फॉर अ वीक, जो उन्होंने हॉलीडेज ऑनलाइन क्लासेस का अनाउंस कर दिया. बट इससे पहले जो स्ट्रेस था पेरेंट्स को कि यहाँ पर ऑनलाइन और ऑफलाइन का इशू था, जहां पे दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट ने बोला था कि हाइब्रिड लर्निंग के थ्रू पढ़ाया जाए बच्चों को, बट दिल्ली के मोस्ट ऑफ द स्कूल्स ने ऑनलाइन क्लासेस बंद कर दी. अब वहां पर ये देखिए, जो बच्चा ऑनलाइन क्लास नहीं अटेंड कर पा रहा, ऑफलाइन नहीं जाता, तो उसकी ऑनलाइन क्लास भी नहीं हो रही. तो यहाँ पे स्ट्रेस लेवल बढ़ रहा है बच्चों का, क्योंकि वो मिस कर रहे हैं क्लासेस जब उनके पेरेंट्स उनका कंसेंट नहीं दे पा रहे हैं ड्यू टू दिस थिंग. यू नो दैट अभी बच्चों को वैक्सीन नहीं लगा है, तो हम बचे कैसे, हर पेरेंट्स के दिमाग में एक बात है. दूसरी बात, यहाँ पर एक और मेजर इशू चल रहा है, जो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ऑल ओवर इंडिया ये चल रहा है, फीस का जो इशू चल रहा है. आज ही इनफैक्ट मैं आपके साथ केस शेयर करना चाहूंगी. 12th क्लास के बच्चे को आज स्कूल की तरफ से नोटिस आ गया, उसको ऑनलाइन क्लास से निकाल दिया. अब आप समझ सकते हैं, जिसका प्री बोर्ड का एग्जाम है, आफ्टर 2 days 16 से उनके एग्जाम है, आज उस बच्चे को अगर निकाल दिया जाएगा.
We've done shows on that specific issue, but there are lots of stresses. I think this is, children are facing these things way ahead of their time. Saurav Chatterjee, I want to give the last word to you. You are the founder and director of High Life Management Private Limited, but more interestingly, we want you to tell us a little bit about this Chase Your Dreams project or program that you all work with, where you basically try and help children hold on to their dreams despite this catastrophic year that we've had.
Thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here and to hear everyone speak about children. I think especially today is a very important day for us, all those who love children. And, my organization works a lot with kids. We do grassroots development in sport. And it's just been heartbreaking to see what the kids have gone through in the last 2 years, because these are talented kids who had dreams of becoming top athletes for the country, winning laurels for the country. Absolutely. And having worked closely with them, I knew that a lot of them had the potential to do so. In fact, to give you an example, one of the girls who our British coaches had earmarked for a great future, a short put champion. She's given up because she just didn't get a chance to train. She just didn't get a chance to compete. And at the age of 15 or 16, competition and training is so important.
So crucial.
And
you're at your peak,
they
I guess,
just
as an
missed
athlete.
out on it. And we had so many calls from so many of the parents because our programs weren't allowed to carry on. Either the authorities weren't allowing any sport or the sponsors.
I know. Ironically, again, parks were closed. While abroad, people were encouraged as long as you can hang out in open spaces. But in India, we said just keep our parks closed. And again, we chose to open our malls and restaurants first. Quickly, Dr. Pooja Shivam then, if you can just 30 seconds, ma'am, what do parents do? Parents are incredibly stressed. I was asking our parents on the show, how do we try, to contain that without affecting our kids?
I think most important word for parents is manage your stress, because children will get stressed and will see you and behave in the same manner. That's point number one. Point number two, maintain a routine, do some fun activities. And my last line for everyone, human behavior is highly adaptable. We always look for possibilities in the face of limitations. That's what we did in the last 1.5 years. I think that's what we need to do for the coming years.
Thank you so much. It's, in the end, hope we can build resilience in our kids.